Welcome to the Maria Liberati Show, where food meets art, travel, and life. This is Maria Liberati. What does food mean to you? Tell me in a recorded sound bite of 60 seconds or less, or a post of 50 words or less. Post on social media, hashtag it the Maria Liberati Show, and post it. Or you can also email it directly to me at marialiberati.com. And if your sound bite or quotes are selected to be part of an upcoming segment, I'll send an autographed copy of my book, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking, to you as special thanks. I love having my listeners be part of the show, so come and join in. I mentioned on my last podcast that I'll be hosting a virtual Panettone bake-along for the holiday season. The event, which is called From Italy with Love, it's still open for more participants, even though registration is limited. The first 10 registrants will get a free bag of award-winning Molino Denti flour from Italy and learn how to bake panettone with me. It will take place on December 22nd at 2 p.m. Eastern Time through Zoom. I can't wait to start this event and spend some time with you all, even while we are all kind of separated from one another. This will be a great way to bond with other people who love baking and Italian culture. There's a lot going on this year, and everyone deserves a break to just relax and get together with one another any way we can, and to celebrate the good things that we still have, one of which is panettone. It's pretty much impossible to feel stressed with a slice of it in front of you. So come join us if you are able to, and we'll make the best of this Christmas season that we are given. The link to buy tickets are in my Instagram bio, and that's at Maria Liberati, my Facebook page, which is Chef Maria Liberati, my website, marialiberati.com, and in this podcast description. Hope to see you there. So what does food mean to you? Well, food can mean many different things, and different ingredients can be used for many different things. So there are ingredients in your kitchen cabinets that have more than one use, and I wanted to explore some of that with you today. So many people are surprised by the usefulness of products that they already have in their home. While they can be used as a seasoning or baking, you may find them useful as a natural cleanser. Take a peek at some of these things that I had listed on my blog for the amazing uses that are inside your kitchen cabinets, and some of these may surprise you. So coconut oil, it's an excellent product. For many people, they use it as a substitute for butter, as it remains a fat, but it reduces caloric intake. However, there are many other uses for coconut oil. One unexpected use comes from the beauty industry. Adding coconut to your diet can improve dental health. It can also be used as a lotion to improve the quality of your skin. It moisturizes your skin and it can fend off infections. Some people use it as a deodorant if they want to go natural. Coconut oil's natural scent also makes it a good way to clean. How about baking soda? Well, of course we use baking soda in many baked goods, but here's an example of the usefulness of products. While it is usually used as an ingredient in cakes and cookies, baking soda does have several other uses. Some people use it as an air freshener or deodorant, just like coconut oil. It has a strong scent that can reduce the smell of your garbage can as well. People even use baking soda as a type of cleaner. Baking soda can destroy organic material stuck in your drain pipes. It also works remarkably well as a counter cleaner. If you have stained pots or pans, baking soda might be an effective way to remove stains. Salt. So everybody has salt in their home, no question about this one. But instead of using it to preserve or flavor your food, you can also discover new ways to make use of this commonplace ingredient. It can be used in similar ways as baking soda or coconut oil, but it has its own unique purposes. So if your dog is prone to getting fleas, you may want to wash their house out with salt water. It repels fleas and kills them if they're waiting for your dog. You can also apply salt salt water to insect stings or bites to reduce swelling. The basic medical treatments you can do are remarkable. If there is a product you need to get work done around the house, don't just add it to your grocery list. Consider the resources you already have at your disposal. You'll become more resourceful and save a lot of money by checking the products in your cabinet first. There are lots of ways to use and reuse those products. You're probably surprised to hear that we have this new event that I just mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, but guess what? We do. This new event has been a struggle in the making, but a joy to produce. The event is a Panettone Bake-Along that will be virtual, so I can connect with as many people as possible and keep everyone safe in the meantime. Hope you can join us, and you can find the link to get tickets on my website at marialiberati.com, on my Instagram at Maria Liberati, my Facebook at Chef Maria Liberati, and in this podcast description. Next, we have a great interview. You know, I was talking about how washing out your pet's bed with salt water keeps the fleas away. And today, because a lot of people, myself included, travel with their pets or bring their pets along to holiday gatherings or events, or even celebrate the holidays with their pets, I invited Christy and Josh Henry from HaveDogWillTravelPodcast.com. I'm lucky to have as my special guests today, Josh and Christy Henry of HaveDogWillTravelPodcast.com.
Thank you for having us, Maria. We're
and thank you guys for being on. So what I wanted to know is, because I know my baby has her own personality, so tell us about your dogs, their names, and their personalities.
Oh boy, we have some big personalities in this house.
Yeah, big time.
So we should go maybe
Order of age. Our youngest is little baby Stella Rose. She's a 3.5-year-old pit bull. She's insanely sweet and very smart, but she's also kind of our, bull in a china shop. She's always she's always very excited and running around and barking at every single noise that she ever hears outside, and
sometimes unintentionally destructive. I don't think but she is like a bull in a china shop. She just runs and runs and knocks over everything in her way because she's so excited.
Yeah, and she's a daddy's girl. I've had her since she was just a wee little baby, and so yeah, she's our youngest.
Yeah, and then next we have Remy, who is 6 years old, and he's a French bulldog. And he is our little guy. Sometimes I still think of him as the baby because he's so tiny. He's only 17 pounds. He was the runt of the litter. And so he has his own little quirks and just some very strange things that he does. I actually think he might be barking right now in the other room. But he high fives, and he likes to sit on people and dogs. And he's just, he likes to be close to everyone and like touching them. Some people think it's a dominance thing. I think it's just a comfort thing.
Yeah, his nickname is recently become the muscle hamster because he looks like a muscly little tough guy, and he's got this little tough guy mentality and personality.
Oh yeah. And then next we have Ruger, who is 8 years old, and he is actually Remy's uncle, but he's also his brother, so we call him Brunkle Ruger. And he's also a French bulldog, obviously. And he's got his own personality too. He's kind of a loner. He likes to just be with his people, not necessarily with the other dogs, and sometimes sits in a corner by himself.
Yeah, he's generally pretty quiet too, unless he's just barking at us inexplicably.
Yes.
Like he'll go on these barking fits, especially like if I come home or if you're, carrying something up the stairs, he just starts barking crazily, and we have no idea why.
We don't know why. He has something to say though.
Yeah. And so then our oldest is Sadie, who we now usually refer to as Sadie Jane. And she's a pit boxer mix.
She's 11.
Yep, she's 11 years old. Sweet as can be, as long as you're a human. She's sweet to her other pack, the rest of the dogs here. But in public, she's kind of a mean girl. She
doesn't like other girl dogs. She likes other boys, but it's hard to take her out in public because you just never know who you're going to encounter. But yeah, she's a sweet girl, and she's definitely the alpha of the pack.
Yeah, and then she's really well behaved in every way, except she's a bit of a dumpster diver. She likes to try to dig through the trash and things like that.
Yeah, she was a rescue. And so she still has that rescue mentality, even though for about 10 years, she's had meals every day and a place to sleep. She still has that rescue mentality in her.
Something about being on the streets is ingrained in her DNA.
Yeah, they do, because I have a rescue and I've had her since she was 2 months old, and she's always had great food since she was 2 months old, but she still has that. Yep. She still got like that rescue in her. So that
kind
mentality. She kind of looks like Toto from the Wizard of Oz. So she's a Cairn and might have some Yorkshire Terrier in her. So she's really sweet, but got her own personality, definitely. So tell me, what how have you been keeping everybody I guess occupied during quarantine in this pandemic?
Well, that's a good question. It's been obviously a wonky year for everybody. Yes. And when you have a podcast that's all about taking your dog to places and travel, it's obviously a bit hampering to be in a either quarantine or distancing or whatever situation like we've been in for the last year.
Yes.
We find that we did an episode during quarantine about being quarantined with your dogs. But I think that's still our most recent episode. But for us, we both work from home even previous to this year. And so we are both home a lot. And so we, I don't honestly, for us, aside from not being able to go places like we were used to, the home part hasn't been that big of an adjustment.
No, it really hasn't. And we've, now that places have opened up a bit, is at least, outside, outdoor dining and whatnot. We're in Georgia. So we opened up fairly early, and we've been able to take the dogs. Sometimes we rotate them around because taking 4 out and about is just impossible. So we've been trying to get them out. Maybe on a weekend, we'll visit a local brewery that has an outdoor area. There's tons of local breweries and restaurants near us that have really neat outdoor spaces that are dog friendly. And so we've kind of stuck to our favorites, and maybe ventured out a little bit here and there to some new places, but we haven't been actively searching.
Well, and we recently moved to a new area. So we've also been discovering some new like walking paths and parks and things of that nature. And more often than not, Stella's the one that gets to go on a lot of our adventures because she's the youngest and gets along with everybody and doesn't have any health problems. So she's usually our
adventure dog.
Our adventure dog, yeah.
And we've been keeping her busy. She has the most energy, obviously. She's the youngest. We go on hikes. We discovered a hike about 30 minutes from us at a state park, and it's about a 5.5 mile loop. And it's perfect for her, and it wears her out. We get exercise. So on a beautiful day, it's just the perfect thing to do with her. So we've been keeping busy.
Oh, that's great. So holidays are coming up. So do you have any, I guess I'll start with suggestions for any kind of doggy treats, like to either make for your own pet for a gift or to give for family members' pets?
Sure. Well, the easiest thing to do to ship, which is probably what most people are doing right now, and hopefully you've already shipped your presents. But if you haven't, you could consider making something that ships well to family members' dogs. I always like to include something for the pets when I'm sending gifts. And an easy one to do is dehydrated treats. And that's something that I've been doing for years. And I've just discovered they ship really well because they're dried out and you don't have to worry about them spoiling even in different temperatures. So a good one for the holidays might be dehydrated apples. It's kind of a fall, winterish type of fruit, and the dogs love them. And so if you have a dehydrator, you can slice up an apple really thin, like a chip, and place them on the dehydrator and let them go. And you can kind of periodically check. They'll usually take a few hours. But what you want to do is at really low heat so they don't burn. And so if you don't have a dehydrator, you can certainly do the same thing in the oven at the lowest temperature and just, maybe stick them on a baking tray with some parchment paper and just let them bake in the oven at a, really low temperature for at least a couple of hours and just periodically check them. Once they dry out, they'll be crunchy like potato chips, but they're apple chips. And you can package them in, a cute little bag with a bow and a tag and ship them off. And they last for a very long time.
Oh, that's a great idea. And I like it because it's healthy too.
Absolutely. So, there's nothing bad in it. What's in it because it's just apple. There's nothing added to it. Yeah. And then also something your listeners could consider is, shopping at a local pet store that might need some extra help right now, and visiting a pet store if it's open, and buying some local treats from a local company and shipping them to friends and family.
As much as we all love the convenience of Amazon, I know it's hard to tear away from it sometimes and go out, especially when you're trying to avoid going out as much as you can. But definitely go out and support some local places. And then in terms of other gifts you could get for someone's dog, I'm a big fan of moving away from collars. I think harnesses are just a much better choice, both in terms of security for the dog and comfort and everything else. So maybe a harness for the dog. Also, we're big fans of the back seat hammock, and there's a bajillion variety of those out there, and they range in levels of fanciness, but they all basically do the same thing, which is to keep dog hair and any kind of whatever liquids from your car seat. And they also help to kind of protect your dog a little bit, because if you break suddenly, they'll catch them. But
and they usually come with a seatbelt or two. Yeah. Sometimes they come with 2 seatbelts, and you can buy additional seatbelts.
Which then connects to the harness.
Obviously, you want to put it, connected to the harness and not a collar, because if you stop quickly, you wouldn't want to choke out your dog.
Oh, exactly. But I'm glad you brought up about that harness thing, because I just feel that the harness is so much safer and more comfortable for the dog. So,
I can't, I'll see people out walking their dog or whatever, and if their dog's pulling like crazy and the dog's just choking itself, and the mentality usually is like, well, if it's hurt itself bad enough, it'll stop. And, maybe, but still, that's obviously like, it's, especially if it's fixated on something, it's just do itself damage. And I just think the harness is a much more humane way to wrangle them in.
Another travel gift could be, if the dog parents don't already have this, a collapsible bowl for water. Whenever you're out and about, it's always a good idea, regardless of the temperature, to have some type of water on hand for your dog and easy access to it. And so we're a fan of this water bottle. I don't know the brand, but it's a water bottle you fill up and you squeeze it, and it squeezes into a little tray, so they can lap up the water from the tray, or you can just bring your own water bottle and then a collapsible bowl.
And the collapsible bowls also usually come in like 3 packs, so you can keep one in your car, keep one in your other car, keep one in your backpack or your purse or your whatever.
So I've noticed when people walk their dogs, the funny thing is, my dog, she likes to imitate what I do, and she actually drinks out of a water bottle. So I have to, and she loves, like, she gets a kick out of it. So when we're walking, I always have to have a water bottle for her. And she gets, whenever, like, she'll stop and I can tell when she wants water, and I give it to her from the bottle. She loves drinking from the bottle, but I can't understand, like, I see people walking in the summertime when it's really hot, and they don't take water with them, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that poor dog. Because my dog, like, every so often she'll stop and she does want a little bit of water. So I think it's really important that people do, like, the collapsible bowl is a great idea. And I have that squeezable thing. I use that for car trips.
It's like, great.
Right. Yep, it is. It's really good for car trips. So but people don't realize that water is really, really important.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's especially in the South here, it's hot most of the year, and we can't stand it when we see people out and about without water.
Well, the other thing people don't seem to realize a lot with their dogs is that, if you're on a longer road trip, for example, anytime you need to pee, your dog does too. So, stop and let them out, probably even more than you do, actually. So, stop and let them, and there's actually found, I mean, I couldn't tell you where they are right now, but surprisingly a number of like rest stops and things that have dog parks and dog areas.
We discovered that driving down to Florida. There's so many of them along the way, right off the interstate, and they have actual dog parks, fenced in dog parks attached to the rest stop.
Wow.
So it's a good idea to, look ahead and see if you can locate those, and maybe try and time your stop so you can use the facilities and your dog can run around in the dog park.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you like tips for traveling with the dog, but that's definitely good as far as, and I like that idea of exactly if you have to go to the bathroom, the dog most likely has to go too. So you need to let the dog out. Any other little travel tips, I guess? So did you guys ever bring your dog on a plane?
So we haven't done that yet, but we did. I think the 2 podcasts ago, the one before the most recent one, we talked to a gentleman named Tom Tilson, who worked for years for airlines, and he gave us a lot of great information about flying with your dog. Right. And kind of the short version of it is check with the airline. Yeah. Almost every airline has specific protocol for traveling with your dogs. And, some of that stuff has probably changed in the last year thanks to the coronavirus situation. Yes. But also, there are a few kind of standard, I guess, things. We put up a list of advice, or like, what is it, top 10 kind of, tips and tricks and stuff for flying with your dog. But no matter what, you're going to always want to check with whatever airline, because they're going to have some kind of specific protocol.
Yeah. And that was really the bottom line. I mean, he shared some awesome tips, and if you want to check it out, it's episode 16. It's called the Mile High Pup. Okay. And it's all about traveling on a plane. And then also, for those who have been in and out of airports recently, you may have noticed many of them have rest areas inside the airport for your dog. And those are usually really clean, and, they're easy to access. They're, right there at the gate. And so if you are actually taking your dog through the airport, you don't have to exit the airport and then go back through security.
Oh, that's great. That's good to know. Yeah, I've not done that yet. I'm just so afraid to try it. But you're right, because I want to spend time researching like the different airlines and making sure, I know, because you don't want to get stuck somewhere and it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize this, that, or the other, because then you got to get home with your dog and but
another really good tip for road tripping with your dog is, most people think that it's good to feed them right before you get on the road, because then they're not going to be hungry soon. No. But for both their comfort and yours, you're going to not want to do that.
Yeah.
It's going to make for a pretty smelly ride, and the chance of their stomach getting upset is even that much higher if they've just eaten.
We always recommend, actually, our first episode we did, the very first episode, is all about tips for traveling in the car with your dog. And we always recommend, if you haven't done a road trip with your dog, to just get them used to the car. So go around the neighborhood or drive to the local dog park, just get them used to the motion, because not every dog enjoys being in the car. I mean, we have 4 dogs, and I'd say 2 of the 4 actually love being in the car, and the others are like, it's okay. And they don't really seem to enjoy it. So it's good to just get them used to that motion. From a young age, if possible. If you've had the dog since they were a puppy, it's good to get them in the car as much as possible so they don't get sick.
Oh yes, that's a great idea, to get them used to the car. I know sometimes I just take my dog, like, for if it rains and we can't do a walk, just because I know she needs to get out a little bit, like I do. I take her for a ride around the block in the car, and and so she's been used to it since she was really young. People don't realize they do need to get their dog used to being in the car. So but that's definitely great, a great tip also. So it sounds like you guys do a lot of road tripping with the dogs.
Pretty good bit.
Yeah, we've done a good bit, probably pre-COVID mostly.
Yes, definitely.
Lately, but
you have done being upside down, as left
yes,
left things feeling out of sorts.
But I do feel like more people are traveling by car these days when they're going to visit family or friends. They're most likely going in the car, and it's always nice to be able to take your dog with you. And I think as long as the person you're staying with or the hotel you're staying at, as long as that's all good, then I think it's a good idea to take your dog with you, because I think it's better than boarding them or leaving them with someone. If they're like me, I worry all the time if I'm not with my dogs.
We did another episode too that was specific to the holidays. And I think we talk about things like, if you're going to visit your family out of town or whatever, find out where the nearest vet is in that area in case you have to have an emergency vet trip. find out where the nearest dog park is, find out where, there's information about the place you're going that you can find out in advance, because there's a world of information at our fingertips.
And also just notifying the person you're staying with, if they can let their guests know if they're having a small gathering, don't feed your dog people food, because a lot of times dogs will beg. And they look so cute and you feel sorry for them. And if someone doesn't have their own dog and they don't know what they shouldn't be giving the dog, they could make them very sick. I mean, there's a lot of holiday foods that are just not good for dogs.
Yes. That's something great that, yes, people definitely should know about. So, okay. And where can we can just go to havedogwilltravelpodcast.com and find all these wonderful tips, more of these wonderful tips that you're giving us.
The website will direct you to kind of the landing page of where the podcast is hosted, but the podcast is also on basically every listening platform, from Apple Music to Google Play to what else is there?
All the things. All the ways you listen to podcasts, you can find us. We are part of the Pet Life Radio family. So our website will actually direct you to where they house our episodes.
Right. And then of course we're on all the social media stuff of, Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. We're at Have Dog Will Travel Podcast on Instagram. And I think that's also the handle on Facebook. And then on Twitter, it's HDWT Podcast. I think that's pretty much it. But it's out there in all the places.
Great. Well, thank you so much. So, and you guys are going to be on my Friday Favorite Facebook Live. So we're going to talk a little bit more. And thank you so much for being on, and happy holidays. Also, Merry Christmas.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thank you very much, Maria. Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you. Merry Christmas. Thanks for joining us and listening to the Maria Liberati Show. This is Maria Liberati asking the question, what does food mean to you? If you have any recipes that were inspired by our guests today, Christy and Josh of HaveDogWillTravelPodcast.com, if you have any treats that you make for your dog, take a picture, show it off, take a picture with your dog too, and hashtag it the Maria Liberati Show and post the photo on social media. We'll be gathering the pictures and posting it on my website. And by the way, my website has just been redesigned and newly released, so check it out and let me know how you like the new design. But we will be putting together a page with photos from people that are posting, hashtagging the Maria Liberati Show. Thanks to my producer Britton Roselle and this week's guests Christy and Josh Henry of HaveDogWillTravelPodcast.com. Thanks to my production interns Max Tedford and Alexandra Krenz. Go to my website marialiberati.com to keep up with my blog and the show and my book series, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking. Instagram, follow me at Maria Liberati. Facebook, follow me at Chef Maria Liberati. On Twitter, Maria Liberati with a capital M. And let's see, my website is marialiberati.com. And don't forget, there is still time to join us in my virtual holiday panettone bake-along. You can find links to tickets on my Instagram, Facebook, and also in this podcast description, and also on my website, marialiberati.com. And don't forget, I will be having a Friday Favorites, hashtag Friday Favorites segment with some of my podcast guests on Fridays on Facebook Live at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So please join us for that. And don't forget to post your answer to the question, what does food mean to you, in a recorded soundbite of 60 seconds or a social media post of 50 words or less. Hashtag it the Maria Liberati Show, post on social media, or email to me at maria@marialiberati.com. If your answers are selected for an upcoming podcast segment, you'll receive an autographed copy of my book, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking. Until next time, peace, love, and pasta.